From the tank on the campus of the College of Staten Island, CSI Sportsnet presents exclusive NCAA Division III men's basketball coverage. This is day 2 of our 17th annual Tournament of Heroes from the College of Staten Island. And in our consolation matchup, our first game of the day, the Griffins of Gwynedd-Mercy University take on the Bates College Bobcats. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joe Foreman, joined by Mike Babuski, bringing you all the action live from center court during today's pair of games. And Mike, this matchup, our first of the day, features the 2 losing teams from last night. First, the Gwynedd-Mercy University Griffins. They fell at the hands of the Tufts University Jumbos in our first game of the night, 92-78. A very back-and-forth game. The Jumbos did control it for the majority of it before the Griffins made a push about midway through the second half, but the Jumbos able to close that one out and shut the door on a potential Griffins comeback. And our second team in this first game, the Bobcats, took on the College of Staten Island last night in our second game of the evening. The Dolphins won that game 95-80 in fairly convincing fashion.
Yeah, Joe, taking the games in order. In the first game, Gwynedd-Mercy faced a very tough Tufts University team, and Tufts was just too much for them in the second half, especially Luke Rogers, who scored all 14 of his points in that second half on 7 of 8 shooting. He also pulled down 9 rebounds as well, so he had a phenomenal second half for the Jumbos, and that really carried them to victory. But Gwynedd-Mercy played a very good game. Matt Summers scored 17. Rich Dunham led the team in scoring with 19, and they had 2 other players in double figures. Those were Courtney Cabbage and Clayton Wolf. And, Joe, the Griffins played well. They shot 45% from the field and, played a pretty strong all-around game. But, the Jumbos were just better, shooting 56% from the field for the game. And, that was enough to propel them for the victory. In the second game, Bates faced a College of Staten Island team here on their home floor, looking to win their first game in a couple of years in the tournament, and just a little bit too much. But you saw a lot out of Andrew Snoddy in the second half. He led the team in scoring with 21 points on 8 of 9 shooting. And Nick Lynch, who struggled in that first half, I think he was 1 of 7 shooting, finished up 5 of 15. And Jeff Spellman and Nick Gelpin also finishing in double figures. So it was a couple of very exciting games, Joe, to get the tournament started. And it should be an exciting doubleheader here this afternoon, starting with Game 1.
And first, we'll take a closer look at that first game from last night. You mentioned the game, Gwynedd-Mercy, the Griffins taking on the Tufts University Jumbos. And what really jumped out to me in that game was the three-point shooting by the Jumbos. In the first half, they shot 7 of 15 from beyond the arc, 6 of 13 in the second half. A very strong showing from three-point range for them. And I don't know if that's a testament to the Griffins defending the three-point shot poorly or just tremendous shooting by the Jumbos in that game. Both teams shot it very well from the outside. The Griffins in that first game, 4 of 9 in the first half from three-point range, 2 of 5 in the second half. So they did shoot well from three-point range in their own right, but unfortunately for them, the Jumbos, as you said, they were the superior team in that game last night, though both teams did play well. It was a very entertaining first game, but the three-point shooting is really what stood out to me in that first contest. And then in that second contest of the night, where the Bobcats took on the College of Staten Island, the Dolphins really dominated the first half, outscoring the Bobcats by 16 points. Bates did outscore the Dolphins 52-51 in a very high-scoring second half, but that wasn't enough. You mentioned some of the standouts in that game, one of them being Andrew Snoddy, a name that you just mentioned, 21 points in the game for the Bates College Bobcats, and they'll be looking to him once again in today's game against the Griffins. They'll need to score with a Griffins team that looked very good at the offensive end of the floor last night. Their issues really came at the defensive end, defending the three-point shot. If they can defend the three-point shot better today, they should fare better in this second-round consolation matchup against the Bobcats.
Yeah, Joe, Bates coming in with the record of just 2-8, so, they're looking for some success here in this early season before their conference schedule gets underway. And, of course, Gwynedd-Mercy had come into this tournament playing very well on the year. Joe, they entered with an 8-4 record on the year. After the loss yesterday, they dropped down to 8-5. But, they're going to look to bounce back here, coming up from down in the greater Philadelphia area and looking to bounce back here in game number 2. So, we expect two teams to come out, excited, ready to play. And, neither team wants to come all the way to New York and go home empty-handed.
Well, you're right about that, Mike. Neither team wants to leave here winless. It's not a short bus trip back, and the teams left on a bus last night. They have a much longer trip on their hands today back home, so they'll hope to be leaving with a victory. And taking a look at some of the team statistics first for the Griffins and going down the line, looking at some of their strengths, Gwynedd-Mercy shoots 46% from the field. That's a very solid number. They do allow opponents to shoot just over 44%. From beyond the arc on the season, the Griffins not particularly good from downtown, not very poor at about 32.5% from three-point range, but they allow almost 37% from beyond the arc. So taking a look at the numbers, it doesn't seem like something out of the ordinary for the Griffins to allow a three-point shooting performance like we saw from the Jumbos last night, though the Jumbos did shoot the ball extremely well. Some of those three-pointers were from deep three-point range, and of course the Griffins will have to be better defending the three-point shot in this game against Bates, a team that really didn't do too much damage against the Dolphins from beyond the arc last night. I'll try and pull up those numbers very quickly beyond the arc for the Bobcats in that game. I don't have them right in front of me immediately.
Yeah, they were 5 of 22, Joe,
yep,
from the three-point line in that game, and they started off very cold. A lot of those 5 three-pointers came toward the end of the game. They were a very good free throw shooting team, though, Joe, going 17 of 20 from the line. That's 85%. So, they're going to look to come out and play better. They really struggled from the field yesterday, especially in the first half, and, that put them behind early. And, Dolphins were able to come out and play with a lot of confidence and got a lot of good scoring play as well. So, the Bates is going to look to be the team that came out and played the second half, not the team that came out in half number 1.
And that's a great point, Mike. What really jumped out to me in that second game, I mentioned in game 1 it was three-point shooting. In game 2 for Bates, it was very poor shooting in the first half. They could not buy a bucket in half number 1, scoring only 28 points before putting up 52 in the second half. But you did mention the free throw shooting being a strong point for them in that game. The stellar free throw shooting numbers for Bates, 17 of 20, as you said. That helped them really hang around, not creep back into the game. They didn't get very close, but they hung around for the majority of that game, despite being outscored by 16 in the first half. They always seem to be within that 10 to 15-point range in terms of deficit, but the Dolphins never allowed them to get back within single digits, if I remember correctly. The Dolphins did a good job of staving off any potential Bobcats rallies in that second half, and that's also a testament to the way the Dolphins played in that game. We'll see more of CSI later, but in their game against the Bobcats last night, the Dolphins shot 54% from the field and 55% from beyond the arc, 73% from the free throw line on 22 free throw attempts. So the Bobcats will also have to be much better defensively in this game, as do the Griffins. We saw last night the Griffins having some trouble defending the Jumbos, but the Bobcats had a lot of trouble with the Dolphins in their matchup last night.
Yeah, and, you turning our attention over to the Griffins a little bit, they're a team that really focuses on guard play. The ball most of the time is in the hands of either Clayton Wolf or Rich Dunham. They're basically in there running the show. They like to pound the ball inside with a couple of some of their other smaller players as well, such as Donovan Spencer and Soma Sluion. Matt Summers shot very well in that game for the Griffins as well. He likes the three-pointer. He was 5 of 9 from the three-point line in the game yesterday. And, the Griffins, as I mentioned, played a pretty good game yesterday against Tufts University. They just came out and faced a team that was a little bit better. And, going into the matchup here in game number 2, you really have to like the way the Griffins played yesterday. And, I think they're going to present a couple of problems for Bates here this afternoon.
Well, taking a quick look down this Griffins roster, two names that really jumped out to me last night: Rich Dunham and Clayton Wolf at the offensive end of the floor, the two leading scorers for this Gwynedd-Mercy team. But last night, Dunham and Wolf finished some tough shots around the rim in traffic, took it to the basket with reckless abandon, but were able to finish effectively inside through some tough defense by a very big Jumbos team, a lot of size on that Tufts University team. So the Griffins were able to navigate that size, attacking the basket very well, and finish strong at the rim. If they can do that again, we'll see if the Bates College Bobcats have an answer. But you mentioned Matt Summers as well, shooting the ball extremely well from beyond the arc last night. He demonstrated some serious range on some of those three-point attempts, able to knock them down and hit some big shots to keep his team hanging around in that game. The Griffins would not go away late in that game against the Jumbos, much like early in the second half in the game between the Dolphins and the Bobcats. The Bobcats were hanging around down about 10 to 15 points, and the same goes for the Griffins in their game. They were hanging around late as well after making a strong comeback attempt, and ultimately, I believe, taking the lead by a point or two in the second half. They were unable to close out that comeback, and were hanging around down about 10 to 15 points later in the game, unable to close things out on that comeback attempt. But as you said, Mike, still a good showing for the Griffins last night. If you're a fan of Gwynedd-Mercy, you have to like what you saw from your team last night against some very stellar competition. And we've said it time and time again already during this pregame. The Jumbos played a great game.
Yeah, the Griffins, as you mentioned, Joe, were actually able to put their nose out in front by a 63-62 score in the middle of the second half. But then Tufts just went on a massive run and really put the game right away. Within a couple of minutes, they were up by 10 points and opened it up even further, and that's how game number one came to an end.
A lot of entertaining basketball last night. We hope for more of the same today. In just a few moments, the national anthem will be played, and the starting lineups will be introduced. When we come back, we'll have the starting lineups for you here on CSI Sportsnet.
Athletic Conference. This is where it all comes together. Find your people, be a part of a team, and don't just play the game, change the game. Champions aren't born, they're built. The City University of New York. Be exceptional.
And we're back from the tank. The starting lineups for both teams are being introduced on the floor right now, beginning first with the Gwynedd-Mercy University Griffins. And Mike has those starting lineups for you.
Okay, first we'll give you the Griffins starting lineup. A couple of changes in the starting lineup from yesterday's game, Joe, is both Jeff Sekafuse and Soma Sawilan in the starting lineup here this afternoon, replacing Matt Summers and Jordan Perkins, the remaining three starters for the Griffins here today. Number 13, Courtney Cubbage, number 20, Clayton Wolf, and number 21, Rich Dunham. For the Bates College Bobcats, it will be 0, Cody Greenhaw, number 11, Jeff Spielman, number 15, Nick Lynch, number 23, Nick Gelpin, and number 33, Andrew Snoddy. The Bates Bulldogs coming in to today's game with a record of 2-8. The Griffins coming in with a record of 8-5, as both teams looking to get a win here in the consolation game of the Tournament of Heroes Championship.
And we'll take a look at some standouts from both teams last night. We mentioned some of those during the pregame. For the Bobcats, double-digit scores included Andrew Snoddy with 21, Jeff Spellman with 13, Nick Gilpin with 10, and Nick Lynch with 10. On the boards leading the way for the Bobcats last night was Nick Gilpin with 6, so rebounding could prove to be an issue for this Bates College team last night. Only 21 total rebounds in the game for them. And then we'll take a look at some standouts last night for the Griffins of Gwynedd-Mercy against Tufts University. And taking a look down the line for them, leading scores as I try to get some point totals. There they are. It's Rich Dunham leading the way last night with 19. Matt Summers right behind him with 17. Clayton Wolf with 11. Courtney Cubbage also in double digits with 11 points of his own. So a few double-digit scores for both sides last night, some well-balanced scoring across the lineups for both teams, and it was a very entertaining game between the Griffins and Jumbos last night. We mentioned that, and things not as competitive in the second game, especially in the first half, though the second half was a much more back-and-forth half between the Dolphins and Bobcats. We'll see how those two games and performances by these two teams translate into today's matchup.
Yeah, and Joe, for the Griffins, they really like to take the ball to the basket, and they had some difficulty doing that in the game against Tufts yesterday. Tufts able to block 7 shots and really create a lot of havoc and, force the Griffins into taking a lot of difficult shots around the basket. And, I think they're going to have a little bit of an easier time here this afternoon penetrating inside. And, if you're Bates and the Bobcat team, you had to have seen that that's the way that the Griffins like to play. And, they're going to have to be prepared to defend those tough penetrating guards on the inside, and we'll see if they're able to do it here this afternoon.
Should be an entertaining one to open up the day. Day 2 of our 17th annual Tournament of Heroes from the College of Staten Island in remembrance of Terrence Aiken, Scott Davidson, and Tom Hannafin. Something that we should not forget after we had our ceremony last night. Once again, a moment of silence in their honor prior to the start of this game as well. And we're off to a quick start here in this one, as taking it inside and coming up empty was Cody Greenolch. First rebound of the game goes to the Griffins. And it will be Clayton Wolf bringing the ball across center court. Swings it over to the right wing and back to the top of the key. Ball moving around the perimeter for the Griffins, as it's now Wolf with the ball at the top of the arc. Defended by Greenolch. Gives it up over to Sluion. And the corner jump shot, a two-pointer, is good. And that is Courtney Cubbage.
Yeah, that's a good start there for the Griffins as they take an early 2-0 lead.
Ball kicked down into the left corner. That's a three-point attempt. And the three-pointer for Cody Greenolch is good.
Yeah, so Greenolch gets the Bobcats off to a good start. It was a long time till they hit their first three-pointer last night.
And there's another three-point attempt at the other end. That's Rich Dunham. Shot no good. Looking to push are the Bobcats. Nearly turned it over there. And that's Nick Lynch who knocks it down from mid-range. And he likes that left wing mid-range jump shot. We saw him take it several times last night.
Yeah, both teams getting off to an early, good shooting start here this afternoon.
Quick early pace to this one, as that shot is knocked down by Courtney Cubbage.
Cubbage with 2 baskets. He has all of the Griffins' 4 points.
Greenolch inside to Lynch. Lynch turnaround jump shot, and he knocks it down. He's a quick 2 for 2 from the field.
Bobcats starting out like they played in the second half yesterday, Joe, not the first.
Dunham has it right wing, gives it up inside to Cubbage. Quick trigger on the mid-range jump shot. That's an air ball. Rebound to Andrew Snoddy. Here comes Nick Gilpin, hands it off. That's Jeff Spellman with the ball inside to Nick Lynch. Once again, may have thought about the turnaround jumper. Instead, swings it to the corner. It's now Andrew Snoddy with it. Pass inside and getting a piece for the Griffins, and attempting that shot was Lynch. I think that was Sigafuse who got a piece of that ball, but Nick Lynch comes away with it, draws the foul, and he'll head to the line for 2.
Yeah, good early start here for the Bobcats. They've hit their outside shots. That time looking to get the ball inside. They weren't able to hit the shot, but Lynch able to draw the foul, so he'll go to the free throw line.
You have to like the pace the Bobcats are playing at early in this game. Dolphins and Bobcats game not nearly as quickly paced as that first matchup last night. So the scoreboard may not indicate that. The Dolphins really lit it up shooting the ball as Lynch misses the first free throw, but Bates really speeding things up at the offensive end early in this one against the Griffins. And the Griffins, as we saw last night, certainly no stranger to playing quickly. And Lynch hits 1 of 2 from the line. Griffins looking to push once again off the inbound, swinging it quickly to the left wing. Dunham over to Sluion. Now it's Wolf with it. Cubbage kicks it right back out to Wolf. Wolf working against Greenolch, and he's called for the travel on the spin move.
Yeah, you know, that time he picked the dribble up and then kind of stumbled on his feet and got called for the travel.
Here comes Gilpin bringing the ball up, swings it to the left wing for Greenolch. Attempted bounce pass off the foot of Sigafuse. Possession will stay with the Bobcats. That last turnover, our first of the game, on the travel by Wolf. Gilpin had that mid-range jump shot, instead looking inside for Lynch, has his pass stolen. Here comes Dunham. Good pass inside. Nice bounce pass and a good finish by Courtney Cubbage.
Yeah, that time the Griffins beating the Bobcats down the floor.
Snoddy drives and puts himself in a bad spot, trapped himself along the baseline. His pass is stolen. Here come the Griffins, and that is Clayton Wolf on the finish, and that will prompt a quick timeout by Bates College.
Yeah, you know, Coach John Furbush not liking what he's seeing on that play is, you know, there was a couple of possessions there where the Griffins able to take the ball pretty much unmolested right to the basket and come back to tie the game up at 8.
I think he needs to tell perhaps Nick Gilpin to have a quicker trigger on that mid-range jump shot. That shot was certainly there. Looked to pass it inside. That pass was stolen, the turnover, leading to a quick basket. And then on the following possession, once again, Andrew Snoddy trapping himself along the baseline, left his feet to make the pass. And I've heard it said many times during some Knicks broadcasts, the cardinal sin of passing, leaving your feet. And I think Clyde Frazier knows a thing or two about passing, so he would know better than many. And that was certainly the case there for Snoddy, leaving his feet and trying to make that pass to the top of the arc, really trapping himself along that baseline, resulting in the second turnover on consecutive possessions. So we are tied at 8. Very quick pace to this one early on. Bobcats will possess the ball out of the timeout, following the basket by Clayton Wolf, as there's another reckless pass. And fortunately for Bates, that one's tipped out of bounds.
And you look out onto the floor, Joe, and really the Bobcats with a height advantage in almost every position. So it'll be the case of size against speed here this afternoon.
That's a good point, Mike. This Griffins team took on, as I mentioned before, a very tall Jumbos roster last night. Not much size of their own out there right now. That's a good pass from Snoddy inside to Spellman, who finishes. And a quick answer at the other end. That's Segafuse on the layup.
Yeah, and once again, the Bobcats get beaten down the floor off a made basket and tied at 10.
Ball up top with Snoddy. Entry pass inside to Lynch, and he is called for the offensive foul, swinging out that arm to create some space for himself. Perhaps the pass gets stolen if he doesn't do it.
Yeah, you know, a little bit of a foul there. Lynch not loving the call, but that'll be the foul on Lynch, his first, team's first.
Greg Barton will check in for the first time.
Yeah, really the only player with size on this Griffins team is Barton, the 6'7" freshman from Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
Comes Clayton Wolf driving to his left, pull-up jump shot off the front rim, no good. And size of Barton immediately paying dividends as he got his hands on that, results in the offensive board, but the three-point attempt by Cubbage is no good, and Barton quicks up a quick foul trying to pick up his second offensive rebound.
Yeah, I thought Barton did a pretty good job trying to shield his body from hitting the defender, but the official felt differently and felt that he got enough of Snoddy to pick up the loose ball foul.
Well, Barton not credited with that last offensive rebound. Got his hand on it to keep the possession alive, but it was Clayton Wolf who pulled the ball in. This is Gilpin on the perimeter. Swings it to Snoddy, and now Spellman on the right wing. Ball back with Snoddy, and his pass is deflected by Rich Dunham. 13 on the shot clock, and Bates will inbound along the far sideline.
Griffins playing in their road uniforms, Joe. Really nice with the red numbers. Very easy to see.
We always appreciate that. Easy to read numbers. And not as much of a factor in basketball as it will be in sports like soccer, as Andrew Snoddy drives and draws the foul, but difficult to read numbers certainly can be an issue, especially numbers that are too small. Sometimes the uniforms can fold up on those numbers, making them impossible to see and call the action. That's not the case in this one. Both teams with very legible numerals on those uniforms, as Andrew Snoddy heads to the line for 2 shots. Some especially large numbers on the back of those Bobcats uniforms.
Yeah, you know, the Bobcats came in shooting just like 67% or so from the free throw line, but they've done much better here. 17 of 20 last night. Looking to continue that here tonight.
Jordan Perkins checks in for the first time, and Greg Barton will take a quick seat as immediately off the rebound, Rich Dunham receives the pass and takes it all the way, and a strong start for Rich Dunham.
Yeah, you know, they're going to make you stop them going to the basket, and Griffins take the lead.
Dunham with a quick 4 assists in this game, picking up his first basket on that last make, as that is a traveling violation called against Kenny Aruajoye.
Yeah, Aruajoye, a 6'8" freshman from Nigeria, couldn't control his feet on that one and got called for the travel.
Tom Coyne checks in for the first time. Number 14 for the Bobcats. Ball up top with Perkins, now on the left wing with Wolf. They swing it back over to Dunham. Dunham driving to his left, floats one up, and it rolls in.
Boy, they're getting right in the paint on Bates here, Joe. They take their biggest lead, which is 3 points, but their ability to get inside on the Bobcats is something that Bates is going to need to do a little bit better with.
Well, I mentioned it during the pregame, the ability of this Griffins team to attack the basket, certainly impressive, especially Dunham and Wolf. And Dunham nearly able to finish that tough left-handed layup. Here come the Bobcats the other way. Open three-pointer for Spellman, no good. Aruajoye fights for the rebound. Snoddy comes away with it. Snoddy attacks the rim, looks to go off glass. And that shot no good. Griffins looking to push it quickly once again. Here comes Wolf. And he will pull it back for a moment and survey the floor. Bench will call out a play. Head coach John Barron with a word for Wolf. As Wolf hands off to Dunham. Ball now with Cubbage in the right corner. Works to his left, bounce pass along the left baseline, and knocking down the shot is Jordan Perkins.
Yeah, you know, Bates continuing to get hurt from the inside and the outside as the Griffins build up their biggest lead of the game to 5.
You have to like what you've seen so far from the Griffins, really picking up where they left off last night. They shot the ball pretty well in last night's game. The Jumbo simply shot it better, and Bates got off to a good start in this one. You had to like what you saw from them early in this first half, but since then, it's really been all Griffins for the last couple of minutes. This game was tied at 8. Since then, Griffins outscoring the Bobcats 8-3.
Yeah, you know, the Griffins pose a lot of problems for teams. They came in to this tournament playing very well, and, you know, they have a lot of plays that are capable of penetrating to the basket, and you have to be able to defend inside. And we've seen on a couple of occasions already, Joe, that even on made baskets, the Griffins able to beat the Bobcats down the floor. So Bobcats got to make sure that they keep their rotation in order and get themselves in position where they keep the floor balanced and they can't get beat, especially on made baskets, because even when you get back and prepare to defend this Griffin team, they're still talented enough to get the ball to the rim.
That's a good point, Mike. They could have taken away 1 or 2 baskets easily by simply getting set at the defensive end of the floor off of a make. Even off of the defensive rebounds, the Griffins looking to run and push the ball quickly, and that's a more traditional fast break that you'll see off the defensive glass. But off the inbound, the Griffins certainly not looking to slow things down at all into a half-court set, as that bounce pass inside intended for Aruajoye is kicked. Possession will stay with the Bobcats as they'll inbound along the baseline with 20 on the shot clock. Coyne with it, brings it outside, calling for a screen from Aruajoye. He uses that screen, and that's a shot we saw him take several times yesterday. Comes up with nothing but air here. Likes to use that screen and step over into a three-pointer. As that wild pass in between 2 Griffins, and I'm not sure that Perkins and Summers knew exactly who that was intended for. They let it go, and it travels out of bounds.
Yeah, you know, both teams have done a pretty good job protecting the basketball here. There, the Griffins turn it over.
Ball with Gilpin. Swings it over to the right wing, now down into the right corner for Coyne. Here comes Coyne on the drive once again. Kicks out to Max Hummel. Nice fake, and Hummel knocks down the wide open mid-range shot.
Nice job by Hummel, drawing the defender past him and burying the jumper. Bates needed that basket, Joe. It's been a few possessions since they've been able to score.
Well, things have gotten a bit sloppy for the Bobcats. They've amassed 5 turnovers through about 7.5 minutes and counting, as the Griffins work it inside to Cubbage, and he is fouled by Hummel. That will be Hummel's first and the team's second, sending Courtney Cubbage to the line for 2 shots. As you get a look at that last Bobcats possession, and the shot fake by Hummel, who may or may not have lifted his foot off the floor. That was awfully close.
Yeah, he kind of gave it with 1 foot on the floor there, Joe, and able to hit the basket.
First free throw by Cubbage is good, as we'll have Rich Dunham entering for the Griffins and Malik Velmar entering for the Bobcats. Dunham replaces Clayton Wolf, and Velmar replaces Nick Gilpin for Bates. Second free throw upcoming for Cubbage. And it rattles in. As we'll have another substitution, this time for the Griffins. Courtney Cubbage will take a seat, and Jeff Segafuse will re-enter the game.
Yeah, you know, one thing we saw really out of all these teams, Joe, was that the coaches like to bring in different players, look at different combinations.
Ruwajoye to Spellman. Up top to Coyne, swings it down to Hummel in the corner for a wide open three. It's no good. Shot short. And once again, Griffins looking to push. Segafuse surveys the floor. Here comes Sluion, kicks it back out to Segafuse. Left wing three short. Rebound to Spellman. Spellman moving up the floor quickly. His pass stolen by Dunham. Good defense there by Rich Dunham, anticipating that pass. And he'll knock down the mid-range pull-up. That's great two-way play there from Rich Dunham, stealing the pass, keeping his footing, moving up the floor quickly and finding open space to knock down that mid-range shot.
It was, Joe, and the last couple of times he took it to the basket. That time he faked to the basket, gave himself some room, and buried the short jumper.
It's been a complete effort for Dunham early on. 4 assists, as I mentioned before, now 6 points. As the Bobcats look to answer that Dunham basket with a three-pointer, and knocking it down is Spellman from the left wing.
Yeah, you know, head basketball coach of the Dolphins, T.J. Tibbs, spoke about Spellman very highly. And, you know, he didn't have the greatest game yesterday, but looked good on that play.
Taking it inside with Segafuse, and the offensive rebound goes to Gwynedd-Mercy. Dunham now has it well outside of the arc. He'll survey the floor as, on a rare occasion, the Griffins look to set up their half-court offense off of the offensive board. They swing it over to Sluion on the right wing, back up top to Dunham. Crossover move, takes it to his left. He's double-teamed. Perkins looking for some space. 3 on the shot clock. Here comes Sluion, and a tough finish by Sluion. A nice finish inside around a pair of defenders.
Yeah, Sobas Sluion, Joe, has really shown an ability to take the ball to the basket, a lot of different finishing moves around the basket, laid it up and in. The Griffins lead back up to 6.
Shot like that takes a great deal of body control inside. I've said that a lot about Christian Taylor as well, has that same ability to finish around the rim, as that jump shot by Ruwajoye is no good. Dunham has it working against Velmar on the outside. Now Summers on the right wing. Entry pass to Segafuse. He kicks it right back out to Sluion, who couldn't handle it, had the open shot. 5 on the shot clock. And that's Matt Summers attempting the three-pointer. That shot no good.
Yeah, he started off hot in the first half yesterday. That's his first shot of the afternoon.
He definitely had the hot hand for this Griffins team last night, as the entry pass too high for Ruwajoye, and that will send us back the other way.
Yeah, another turnover, Joe, for the Bobcats, so another empty trip will give the Griffins the basketball.
At turnover number 6, as you get a look at the three-point shooting, and Gwynedd-Mercy shot it well from downtown last night. Not the case early in this game, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc. Bates has knocked down a pair of three-pointers. Bobcats trail by 6, due in large part to their 6 turnovers. They've given a few possessions away. That's Eli Frater with it on the inside, and he quickly makes his mark as he finishes through the contact and will head to the line for one more.
Yeah, that time Frater posted up the bigger Andrew Snoddy on the play and thought he might have got away early with a little bit of Donovan Spencer. Was able to post up Snoddy on the play and thought he might have gotten away with a little bit of a arm move, and then was able to go to the basket and finish and draw the foul.
Well, that's my mistake as I quickly flip between the two rosters, one on each side of the page. That was Donovan Spencer quickly making his mark on this one, finishing inside through the contact. Can't convert on the free throw. And the Griffins will have to settle for 2 on that possession. Coyne has it left wing. Looks like he was calling for a screen. He will get it from Snoddy. Picks up his dribble and swings it over to the right side of the floor, but that's out of the reach of Nick Lynch, and that's another Bobcats turnover. Cody Greenulch will check back in. He will replace Tom Coyne. About 8:35 to go in the first half. Griffins leading the Bobcats by 8. As Courtney Cubbage finishes the turnaround jump shot off glass.
And the Griffins now 12 of 20, Joe. That's 60% from the field here this afternoon.
Gilpin uses the Lynch screen, but quickly gives it up to Snoddy. Now it's Greenulch who picks up his dribble. Lynch surveys the floor. Now Snoddy right wing. Hand off to Gilpin. Gilpin looking to drive to his right. Kick out to Cody Greenulch, who knocks down the three.
Yeah, Greenulch with his second three of the afternoon. He's played well. He has 6 for the Bobcats.
That was a much-needed shot, as the Griffins had recently extended their lead to a game-high 10 points and really had control of this one, as the offensive foul is called against Donovan Spencer, using that elbow to clear some space for himself.
Yeah, he got away with it on the last possession where he drew the foul. He didn't get away with it that time, and he picks up the offensive foul.
And you'll often see a bench bring the attention of that to the officials after a player gets away with it once. And Spencer didn't get away with it there. I'm not sure if that was the case in this situation, as Greenulch wide open for three in the corner, and Cody Greenulch with back-to-back three-pointers has cut the Griffins' lead down to 4, and that will prompt a timeout from Gwynedd-Mercy, a 30-second timeout.
Yeah, you know, Greenulch really playing well here for the Bobcats this afternoon. The 6'1" junior hitting 3 3-pointers here in the early parts of the first half to lead the Bobcats in scoring with 9, and really brought them right back into the game, Joe. You mentioned they've been down by as many as 10. All of a sudden, that 10-point lead right down the 4.
And Cody Greenulch went scoreless last night, 0 of 2 from the field. Both of his shot attempts were 3-point attempts, and he only played 12 minutes. So Greenulch, unsurprisingly, was taken out of this game a little bit early, came back in off the bench, and has quickly made an impact. And Bobcats really needed those 2 3-pointers, as you get a look at the second of those 2 back-to-back 3-pointers that Greenulch knocked down. That one from the right corner, the first from the right wing, and pair of much-needed shots for Bates College, bringing them back to within 4. And on top of the shooting from Greenulch, they need to clean up their turnovers. And if they can continue to get this kind of shooting from Greenulch and some of the other players out there on the floor while at the same time eliminating those turnovers, they should be able to keep themselves back in this game.
And, you know, we mentioned before that the Griffins shooting 60%, but Bates doing a good job there right in the game, as they're going to pick up a foul now away from on the outside on Gilpin.
Well, I mentioned it before. The Bobcats were hanging around the Dolphins, trailing by about 10 to 15 points for the majority of their matchup with CSI last night. Quickly fell behind by 10 in the first half of this one, with about 9 or 10 minutes to go in this first half, but have pulled themselves back to within 4, and they'd love to keep this within single digits and ultimately, of course, take a lead as you get a look at the shooting for both sides. And Griffin's shooting it very well so far, 60% from the field, as you just mentioned. Bobcats just over 50%. Pace of play has slowed down a bit from the first few minutes in this one. Two teams went back and forth at a frantic pace early, as that looks like it's going to be a turnover committed by the Griffins, and it's got to be a foul call as well. It is a foul against Jeff Sagafuse, as that was inevitably going to roll out of bounds and trying to keep the possession alive. Sagafuse with a bit of a shove there.
Yeah, not a good foul that time, so Sagafuse will pick up the foul. That's the 15th foul on the Griffins.
Shane Ford checks in along with Jordan Perkins for Gwynedd-Mercy. I don't believe Ford got into the game last night. If he did, it was late. Ford wearing number 32, as Greenulch swings it down into the corner and receives it right back from Malik Velmar. That shot off, and Greenulch knew it. Perhaps a heat check there, but it was an open look. As here come the Griffins now. Wolf up to Dunham, shot fake as Dunham looks to attack. Pulls up from mid-range and knocks it down. And you have to love what you've seen from Rich Dunham in this first half.
Yeah, Dunham's been a very good player for the Griffins here now with 8 points.
Snoddy reels that one in, nearly out of his reach. As Velmar pulls up. No good, rebound by Ford. Griffins pushing it quickly the other way. Once again, that shot off glass by Cubbage as we have a scramble for the rebound. And I think the referee signaled kickball. He did.
Yeah, Griffins getting their possession saved by the kick ball. Will have an opportunity to inbound with 20 on the shot clock.
Inbound pass inside to Ford. He will look to work against Lynch. Instead, sends it back out to Wolf. Wolf dribbling to his right. Hand off to Dunham, right wing three. Rolls in and out. Rebound to Nick Lynch. Here come the Bobcats. They push it up the floor quickly for an open left wing three by Andrew Snoddy. No good. Rebounded by Dunham, and you know he's looking to push. And instead, we'll pull it back as it looked like he lost the handle a bit there. Cubbage has it, left wing, swings it over to Dunham. Wolf down in the right corner, up top to Ford. Thought about the three, instead gives it up to Cubbage, who knocks down the wide open mid-range jumper.
Yeah, good extra pass that time by Ford to hit Cubbage for the jumper from the free throw line extended.
Griffins lead now back to 8 points. Coming out of that timeout, it seems like Gwynedd-Mercy has cleaned things up a bit, and that shot by Lynch way off. As the Griffins look to move up the floor quickly again. Ford thought about another three-pointer, instead gives it back to Wolf. Wolf receives a call from the bench. As Dunham gives it up to Ford. Cubbage on the left wing. Griffins moving it around the perimeter, now find Ford on the right block. Turnaround mid-range shot well short. Gilpin down to Velmar in the corner. Three-pointer in and out. And a foul is called on the rebound. Let's see who the culprit was on that one.
I think it might be Dunham picking up the foul.
It is. That's his first, the team's sixth. Both teams managing to avoid issuing a 1-and-1 situation to the other side so far in this first half. The Griffins one team foul away from sending the Bobcats to the line for 1-and-1s. Mentioned the solid free throw shooting by the Bobcats last night. Not a team you want to put on the line, as there's another Bates College turnover. Here comes Dunham, and he finishes easily with the left.
Yeah, Dunham with a quick move on the ball to get the steal and then fly down the floor, lead back up to 10, Joe.
Dunham with 10 in this first half, averages 18.5 per game on the season, and looks like he will surpass that as Nick Gilpin knocks down the three-pointer from the top of the arc, and once again, a much-needed three-pointer for the Bobcats, trailing by 10.
It really was, Joe. Breaks a 6-0 Griffin run.
That pass tipped, nearly stolen by the Bobcats. As Wolf looking for somewhere to go with it. It's Ford at the top of the arc. Entry pass inside to Summers. Summers defended well as Wolf will attempt the three-pointer. That's in and out. And that rebound going to Brandon Galloway. Also drew a foul on the rebound attempt. That's a technical foul called against Shane Ford. I'm not sure if something was said, but
well, you know what really happened, Joe, was first he picked up the offensive foul on the loose ball rebound, and then they kind of bumped into each other, and Ford just gave a little bit of an extra shove, and certainly enough to pick up a technical foul.
Well, I saw the shove, but I wasn't sure if something was said to prompt that shove because it came seemingly out of nowhere. As a lot of these guys, I've even seen it in pickup. Back when I used to play daily in high school, you'd have those guys who always want to give you a shoulder bump after a made basket or any hard contact. Some players just thrive off that physicality, but here it earns Ford a technical as the first technical free throw shot is missed by Brandon Galloway.
Yeah, so the freshman going to the line to shoot the free throws is, you see the free throw shooting on your screen.
Well, that wasn't the technical, Mike. My mistake, as Galloway drew the foul,
yeah,
which prompted the anger that led to the technical foul. I incorrectly stated that was the technical foul shot. So the technical foul shots being taken now. Nick Gilpin taking those and knocks him down.
So a couple of points off the free throw, and now another opportunity for a possession here for the Bobcats, and they can make it a one-possession game with a basket here, Joe.
They will inbound right in front of us, as it will be Jeff Spellman giving it up to Andrew Snoddy. Snoddy given a ton of space and can't knock it down. Snoddy certainly the hot hand for the Bobcats last night. If I recall correctly, didn't do much of his damage from the outside. We've seen him attempt a couple of three-pointers in this game already. That last three-point attempt by Snoddy, his second of the game. He's 0 for 2 from beyond the arc.
So Gilpin will pick up the foul. That will be his second, the 5th foul on the Bobcats. So the Griffins will inbound the basketball with 24 seconds remaining on the shot clock.
And I was correct. Andrew Snoddy did not attempt a three-point shot last night. He's already attempted a couple in this game. 0 for 3 overall from the field. Summers has a wide-open three-pointer. Didn't miss many of those last night. Rebound goes to Jeff Spellman. Here come the Bobcats. Snoddy looking to drive to his right, and he has his first field goal.
Yeah, and that's what you want Snoddy to do, is take the ball to the basket. He's shown the ability to use both hands, and it's now a 31-possession game. 7-0 run for the Bobcats.
Summers looking to get going from beyond the arc and won't be able to do it there, as he's missed his last 2 from three-point range. Possession to the Bobcats off the out of bounds. Timeout is called by Gwynedd-Mercy. It is a full timeout, so Mike, we will take our first break of the game. A very fast-paced first half early on, a few 30-second timeouts, but with our first full timeout, we'll step aside for a minute. When we come back, it's a 3-point lead for the Griffins of Gwynedd-Mercy University over the Bates College Bobcats.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
And we are back from the tank. About 30 seconds to go in this full timeout, and just over a minute to go in the first half. Our score, the Griffins 32 and the Bobcats 29. Mike, what stands out to you from the action so far in the first half?
Well, you know, we mentioned earlier, Joe, that the Griffins were shooting 60% from the field. They've hit just 3 of their last 9 shots, so they've dropped down to 52% from the field. The other thing is that the Griffins are now 0 of 8 from the three-point line, so they haven't been able to hit their three-pointers, where the Bobcats shooting very effectively from the three-point line at 5 of 13, and they've used that to be able to stay in the game.
That's a great point, Mike. You're absolutely right about that. Where would Bates College be without their three-point shooting over the last few minutes? It was Cody Greenulch first, and then another big three-pointer by Nick Gilpin from the top of the arc, cutting into a 10-point lead at the time. The three-pointer by Gilpin, that is, making it a 7-point game. The 2 three-pointers by Greenulch on back-to-back possessions cut a 10-point lead to 4. The deficit for the Bobcats right now is 3, as Spellman swings one over to the left corner. An unorthodox pass, but it got the job done. Unfortunately, unable to hit the three-pointer was Eli Frater, and I'm not sure why Greenulch swatted that one all the way out of bounds. Looked like the attacking player had lost the ball there. That was, I believe, Jordan Perkins on the drive, but Greenulch sent that one into the stands. Greg Barton checks back in. Some size back out on the floor for Gwynedd-Mercy. Pass inside to Cubbage, and a good feed over to Barton, who scores for the first time.
Yeah, that breaks up a 7-0 Bobcat run, and a nice play to get the ball inside the paint, where the Griffins operate best.
We're just over 2 minutes to go now in the first half. Or at least that's what the game clock says. I could have sworn we were at just over a minute going into the timeout. Clock on our screen reflects a few seconds left to go in the first half, but we just hit the 2-minute mark as our clock does indeed reset. And that three-pointer by Spellman will wedge itself between the rim and backboard. Result is a jump ball and possession to Gwynedd-Mercy.
Yeah, Summers almost got up to the rim to knock that one away, Joe, but just a little bit short.
He had an assist from the net, I think, Mike.
So Barton came over and took care of it.
Yeah. Back in my high school days, I didn't need the assist. Now, I think I need a new ankle, but Won't be getting that anytime soon as that pass inside to Cubbage. Floats it up with the left hand, no good, and aggressively grabs his own offensive rebound. Jump ball is called before Cubbage could go up with a second attempt, and this time possession will go over to Bates. You get another look at that three-pointer. We'll see if we have the Summers attempt in there.
Oh, we almost did.
We're just cut off. Here come the Bobcats. And lazy pass there. I'm not sure how Summers didn't get called for a foul on that push and got away with it. Assists Courtney Cubbage on the floater inside. There's another turnover. Here comes Summers again. And he is stripped and fouled on the shot attempt.
Yeah, so a couple of quick possessions there by the Griffins resulted in a basket, and now a couple of free throw opportunities for Summers. So a game that was just 5 has an opportunity to go up to 9 if Matt could hit his free throws.
You have to like the job that John Barron has done in those timeout huddles. It seems like his team has come out of those last 2 timeouts they've called energized, and when it seemed like the Bobcats had the momentum, it was quickly seized right back by the Griffins out of each of the last 2 timeouts.
Yeah, Summers a very good free throw shooter, Joe. As he came into the tournament hitting all 6 of his free throws. He hits both of them, and the lead is back up to 9.
Frater driving to his right, had a step, and draws the foul. Both teams have done a pretty good job staying out of foul trouble in this first half. Doesn't look like either team will reach the 10 foul mark, though. The Griffins just picked up their 9th with over a minute to go. 1:06 on the game clock.
That was a nice move by Frater to use his body to draw the foul, and now he hits the first free throw.
Griffin substitution, it will be Perry Belcher entering for Greg Barton. Second free throw is good by Frater. Lead back down to 7. And traveling is the call. That will send possession right back to the Bobcats. And those turnovers much more characteristic of Bates in this first half. We've seen some lazy play, especially passing the ball just a couple of possessions ago, but despite the turnovers they've piled up in this first half, they only trail by 7. They've also been outshot 51.5 to 40 from the field, but you said it before, Mike, the big difference between these 2 teams in the first half, shooting the ball from beyond the arc. As feed inside to Snoddy results in an air ball on the layup attempt. Looked like he was trying to work around the contact and instead came up empty. As right back the other way is Perry Belcher to finish inside. Lead back to 9. For Gwynedd-Mercy. Bobcats looking to get it up the floor quickly. They do. That's Frater inside. And someone got a hand on the rim. I'm not sure if that was a Bobcat or a Griffin.
Yeah, Frater's been able to get the ball inside twice, and it looked like he had good opportunities. He felt he might have drawn a foul on that play. Didn't get the call, but the Bobcats will remain in possession.
21.5 to go in this first half. Bobcats have the last shot if they want it. But Greenulch wants that corner three-pointer, and he gets it. And once again, Cody Greenulch with a big three-pointer. That's a good feed inside to Wolf from Summers, and Wolf draws the contact and will head to the free throw line with 9.8 to go in the first half.
Yeah, and that time Lynch really did not like that call, as Lynch will pick up his second foul of the game. Wolf will go to the free throw line, and an opportunity to extend that 6-point Griffin lead.
Fairly quiet first half at the offensive end for Wolf. Only 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting. Make it 3. A couple of substitutions for the Griffins. Justin Collins and Somas Luian enter the game for the final possession of the half. I think we had a Bobcats substitution as well. I think it was coined for, trying to catch who that is in the corner. I think it was Nick Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch came out of the game.
9.8 to go. Griffins lead is 8. Bobcats looking for one final basket before the end of the first half. 5 seconds to go in the half. Here comes Frater. Looks to pull up, defended well, And Andrew Snoddy can't knock down the three-pointer. His struggles from beyond the arc continue. And at the end of the first half, our score, the Griffins of Gwynedd-Mercy University 42, the Bates College Bobcats 34.
Yeah, you know, an entertaining first half, Joe, back and forth. The Griffins in front most of the way. Put themselves in a good position with an 8-point lead going into halftime.
When Mike and I come back, we'll have some first half stats and a look ahead to half number 2 in this consolation game. Day 2 of the 17th annual Tournament of Heroes from the College of Staten Island continues in about 5 to 10 minutes when Mike and I come back. Our score at the half, Griffins 42, Bobcats 34. More Tournament of Heroes basketball when we return.
Here she comes. I, Krista, take you, Jamie, to be my wife.
The ceremony was a blast.
It was just like the surreal moment of my dreams are coming true.
When we found out that we were pregnant, we were just elated. We were just sitting there waiting for the pediatrician. She said, "Oh, I apologize. She won't be taking you in as a client."
We are a lesbian couple, but she's just a baby. She's the one you're denying the service to.
And sitting there in that small, cold room, I wanted to cry, just thinking, what did we bring this kid into?
We're simply asking to treat our family the same way that you would treat any family.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be. So we were walking to school. At the corner, we waited for the traffic light.
I started thinking about lunch. Mom pat me turkey and cheese.
She's
I really
smart,
want cheese pizza,
but
like at Luigi's.
sometimes her mind wanders.
They have this video game there, and Kate's got the high score. We should have a sleepover. Maybe I should pack my pajamas.
I remember saying, Laura? Laura?
I think I heard Mom say something.
The sign says don't walk.
Sometimes it's so overwhelming.
When we finally got there,
she gave me a hug goodbye.
I really hope she doesn't
I
have
really
another
hope I
bad
don't
day
have
at
another
school
bad day at
today.
school today.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free online resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Here you'll get personalized recommendations, practical tips, daily access to experts, and more. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org.
Be right back.
Hi! You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. I don't know what else to get on. It's very sad, no more love. All that I could do was remember you. You know I usually say no, but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
Hi, I'm Peter, and there's nothing I love more than sharing vegetables with my friends.
Come on in! Help yourself to anything.
That's why we give our food the utmost respect it deserves. Did you know there are simple steps we can all take to help save food? You can cook it, store it, even share it. Just don't waste it. Because when it comes to food, better ate than never. To learn more, visit savethefood.com.
I remember, Dad, you and Mom got this car with a hatchback. I said, you know, I'd be happy to give you the money to get a really great car. And he said, well, no, this works for me. I says, why? Because it's the right height to put the meals in. Dad, tell me when you first got an inkling about Meals on Wheels.
There was kind of an abandoned house. That's where we got started with Meals on Wheels. We kind of filled a need for people as they got older.
It's the human interaction that probably fed them much more than the food.
Oh, yeah. When you can see somebody else benefiting by your life in some way, you can't help but feel good about it, I think.
Well, the reason I'm involved, Dad, is because you are, and you're so inspiring. How you've impacted people is enormous.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org.
America, let's do lunch.
Dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise?
Surprise!
Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
And we're back from the tank. As promised, we have some halftime stats for you from half number one. First, for the Gwynedd-Mercy University Griffins, they shot 18 of 35 from the field, 51.4% mark. And for the Bobcats of Bates College, they shot 11 of 28 from the field, 39.3%. The shooting, really a big disparity from the field between these two teams. The Griffins outshot the Bobcats by a wide margin. However, from three-point range, it was a different story. 0 of 9 for the Griffins, 6 of 16 for the Bobcats in that first half.
Yeah, you know, Joe, it's been a pretty entertaining first half here today. The Griffins getting good play out of Courtney Cubbage. He leads all scorers with 14 points on 6 of 6 shooting, including 2 of 2 from the free throw line, to go along with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. So he's had a good, well-balanced game here this afternoon for the Griffins. And, you know, the Griffins have really pretty much played their way out in front for most of the game since the beginning of the game. They've done a good job here today and have put themselves in a good position with an 8-point lead going into the second half.
And continuing to move down the line very quickly for the Bobcats, 6 of 9 from the free throw line. The Griffins hit 6 of their 7 free throws on the boards. Griffins with a +3 rebounding margin, 19-16 in favor of Gwynedd-Mercy on the offensive glass, a 5-3 advantage for the Griffins defensive glass. They were a +1, 14-13. Their biggest lead of that first half was 10 points. They now lead by 8 as we approach inside of 6 minutes to go before the start of the second half. Early in this game, the Bobcats did have a 4-point lead. I believe the score at that point was 8-4. This game was tied at 8. And then from there, the Griffins really took control. The Bobcats got within 3 points once, but after that, the Griffins called a timeout, got themselves together, came back out, played with a lot more energy, especially defensively, as we saw many passes up the floor, easily stolen. The first pass made off of an inbound by the Bobcats, quickly stolen once or twice at least by the Griffins. Just some lazy passing by the Bobcats later in that first half. And you take a look at the turnover numbers, and it's 11 turnovers for Bates College in that first half, simply too many for them. And 6 for the Griffins. So the Bobcats really need to clean things up, and the only thing keeping them in this game right now, as we've mentioned more than once already, is that three-point shooting from beyond the arc. 6 of 16 for 37.5%. If the Griffins knock down some of their open three-pointers, this could be a very different game. But the same could be said for the Bobcats. If they cut out some of the turnovers, the result of that first half, an 8-point deficit, could have been very different.
Yeah, and, for the Bobcats, Andrew Snoddy had a big second half yesterday, finishing with 8 of 9 shooting, and Bobcats will need some of that from him out of the second half. Really the most effective offensive weapon for the Bobcats in the first half was Cody Greenlaw. He finished 4 of 6 shooting, but 4 of 5 from the three-point line, 12 points and 3 assists in just 13 minutes a half in that first half. He also had the only block of the game for either team, so he played well in that first half after you mentioned, Joe, finishing without scoring on 0 for 2 shooting last night.
Well, Greenwich did lead the way in that first half for his team, Bates College Bobcats, with 12 points. They had a trio of 5-point scorers as well. Jeff Spellman, Nick Lynch, and Nick Gilpin, all with 5 points apiece in that first half. Other scorers included Andrew Snoddy, really a standout from last night. Struggled in that first half, only scoring 3 points, 1 from the free throw line, shot 1 of 5 from the field. So not a great first half for Snoddy, but he really picked up his play in the second half last night against the Dolphins. So they'll be looking to him for a big second half once again, and it will be much needed right now. They're trailing by 8 entering the second half, and really struggling from the field overall, though from beyond the arc, they've shot the ball very well.
Yeah, as you take a look at the crowd here at this 17th annual Tournament of Heroes Championship, and we just have about 3 minutes or so remaining in the second half, and then we'll be back with the main event, the championship game between the College of Staten Island and Tufts University, a game that we're really looking forward to. I know head coach TJ Tibbs is really looking forward to see how this team can do against a very tough Tufts University team, a team that has a lot of size, a lot of balance, and will present a lot of Dolphins in the championship game here this afternoon.
We've spoken a lot about these two teams on the floor already and look back at the first half. So quickly we'll look ahead to our second matchup of the day just for a couple of minutes before we get started in the second half. And taking a look back to last night, the Dolphins taking on Bates College. You mentioned some of the numbers from that one during the pregame. It was a 15-point Dolphins victory, 95-80. I think it's the best offensive performance I've seen from the Dolphins here at home in 2018, and they scored 51 in the second half of that game, though they were outscored 52-51 in that second half. They added 44 in the first half as well, and last night Dolphins shot the lights out from the field, 54% on 34 of 63 from the field, 11 of 20 from beyond the arc for a 55% clip. And taking a look down the line, several double-digit scorers as well. Stephen Flagg, Adiola Latunji, Rigo Destime, and Christian Taylor. Flagg and Destime with 13 apiece. Latunji led the way with 23, Taylor with 20. And Rigo Destime got red hot for a couple of minutes there. Most of his points were scored in about a 2 or 3 minute stretch. Christian Taylor and Adiola Latunji, of course, very consistent from start to finish. I believe Stephen Flagg came out very hot early in that game, lighting it up from the field early. Also was a beast on the boards. He had 10 rebounds. Christian Taylor added 14 rebounds in that game as well. Adiola Latunji also had 8. So the Dolphins really clicked in all cylinders last night, rebounding the ball, shooting it well from beyond the arc, and overall from the field, also 16 of 22 from the line.
Yeah, they played very well. It was the first home game for Stephen Flagg, who returned to the team after missing the first part of the season. Really a welcomed addition to this Dolphin team. Really a player that adds so much to this team. He has a little bit of size. He has the ability to hit the outside shot, but he also presents problems on the inside for opponents. And, they're going to need that size, as we mentioned, Joe, because they're going to be facing a very tough, large, jumbo team, and that's Tufts University, who's came in, played very well here last night, and will present multiple challenges for the Dolphins here in this championship game.
Well, the Jumbos appropriately named as you take a look at some of the players who got into the game and played extensive minutes last night. Luke Rogers, 6'8", Max Oppenheim, 6'8", Patrick Racy, 6'6". He got into some foul trouble, so we might see a little bit more of him today. And Eric DeBrine, 6'6". So a very tall Jumbos team indeed. And for the Dolphins, only one player, make that 2, listed at 6'6" or taller, those being James Delahanty and Shamal Martin. So I think you'd expect those two to get some minutes in the game later. Our main event, as you mentioned, Dolphins taking on the Tufts University Jumbos in our final round of the Tournament of Heroes, the championship round. This, of course, the consolation game between the Bobcats and the Griffins. The horn has sounded. The second half about to get underway. What are you looking for from these two teams in the second half?
Well, you know, if I'm the Griffins, I'm going to eschew the three-point shot, Joe, and look to try to continue to pound the ball inside and get points in the paint. It's where they're most effective. It's where their players have the ability to really present a lot of problems for Bates. Continue to try to press them and run the ball down the floor. If you're Bates, you're going to need more balanced scoring in the second half. And, you know, I see Greenolch coming out in the starting lineup here in this second half. And you're going to look for Andrew Snoddy, who had his career half early in his career, only a freshman, looking to get him back on track offensively as well.
And we'll see if they can do that. Their deficit entering the second half is 8 points. Griffins will possess the ball first, and it's Rich Dunham with it up top for the Griffins on this first possession of half number 2. They'll swing it around the perimeter down into the left corner. That's Clayton Wolf up top to Cubbage, back over to Dunham right wing. Entry pass inside to Segafuse. He's working against Spellman. Kicks out to Cubbage for the mid-range left wing jump shot, and Cubbage has been money from the mid-range so far in this game.
Yeah, he's now 7 of 11, Joe, from the field at 16 points, playing very well here this afternoon.
And there's another lazy pass and turnover. Here comes Segafuse, and he will lay it in, and quickly the Griffins have their biggest lead of the game, 12 points.
Yeah, not the start that the Bobcats were looking for, 4-0 run to start the second half.
And not the lazy turnovers that they can afford at this point. We saw some of those in the first half, simply can't afford it as we get later and later in this game. And there's another one, a pass down into the corner. Greenolch didn't have much space, and after the pass was deflected, Greenolch tried to keep it in bounds, and it ricocheted off his hand and over the far sideline. So a couple of quick turnovers in the second half for the Bobcats, and Griffins now possess the ball with their biggest lead for the first time. Wolf, right wing, swings it over to Sluion. Three-pointer is short, rebounded by Lynch. Gilpin up to Greenolch. Back over to Gilpin. Good pass inside to Lynch, who couldn't finish. Not sure he realized how open he was. As Dunham looks to run up the floor, and they simply have no answer for him on the fast break.
Yeah, 6-0 run to start the second half. Griffins with their biggest lead of the game. It's now 14 points, and as we mentioned, Joe, not really the start that the Bobcats were looking for.
And that prompts a 30-second Bobcats timeout. They'll look to talk things over and get things right. It's been a nightmare start to the second half, to say the least, so far. Deficit is 14 points. We get a look at the reason that we are here today. The jerseys of Terrence Aiken, Scott Davidson, and Tom Hannafin hanging beneath our scoreboard, along with the ribbons in remembrance of those we lost on September 11th, 2001. Of course, we had our ceremony in between games last night. Always a privilege of mine to help lead the way as Master of Ceremonies, reading off the script prepared by David Pizzuto every year as we remember Terrence, Scott, and Tom annually here at the College of Staten Island each holiday season. Certainly my privilege to be a part of that, and I hope that I did the ceremony justice last night.
Certainly did, Joe.
I appreciate that, Mike, as the Bobcats will possess the ball and cross center court. Here comes Snoddy on the drive, and went from a potential left-handed shot to a two-handed shot. Those characteristic finishes we saw from him last night. As the corner three-pointer is short, but a foul is committed by Nick Lynch, and that's a foul that the Bobcats really couldn't afford right now.
Yeah, not the best foul on the play by Lynch. Not only will that award a three-shot foul to the Griffins, but that will also be the third personal for Lynch.
3 shots for Courtney Cubbage at the free throw line, looking to extend his team's lead to as many as 15 points, and he knocks down the first.
Cubbage came into the tournament shooting 55% from the free throw line.
And he's knocked down the first 2 here Lead now 14 points for the Griffins, matching their largest of the game. Bobcats certainly need to clean up the turnovers first and foremost right now. That's been a big issue early in this second half. And Cubbage, as you mentioned, a 55% free throw shooter entering action, knocking down all 3 here to extend his team's lead to a game-high 15. Good passing there by the Bobcats, and a reckless foul committed by the Griffins. Immediately after drawing a foul on the three-pointer, the Griffins come right back the other way, not back on defense, and foul Nick Lynch, who finishes easily inside.
Yeah, but, you know, you got to give the Bobcats credit. The last 2 possessions, they've been able to get the ball to the rim, awarded with a couple of baskets, and now an opportunity for a 3-point play.
And they're unable to convert from the free throw line to make it a 3-point play. And that's Rich Dunham attacking the rim once again. And they simply haven't been able to stop Dunham from getting inside. When they have, it's taken 2 players, and Dunham hasn't hesitated to make the pass to the open man either.
Yeah, Dunham presents challenges inside. He has the ability to use either hand when finishing around the basket, and now an opportunity to go back to the free throw line. You look at the free throw shooting for the Griffins here today, now 10 of 11, and that makes a big difference in the game, Joe.
They've been on point from the charity stripe as Dunham knocks down the first. In 21 minutes, he's 6 of 9 from the field, also has 5 assists and 4 steals. Talk about a complete two-way effort for Dunham in this one, and we still have 18 minutes to go in this game as he knocks down both free throws to extend his scoring to 14 points in the game. Griffins get back and set on defense. Looks like a 2-3 zone from them. Greenolch looking for somewhere to go with it. Another lazy pass, nearly stolen by Sluion, and then Dunham is there. Well, good idea there from Dunham, but poor execution as that pass hit Cubbage in the knees and travels out of bounds, but still a great play by Dunham after the initial near stolen pass. Dunham right back in another passing lane and comes up with steal number 5.
Yeah, nice play by Dunham. His pass, though, at the feet.
Given how active he is, I need to check his average steals per game if that's available to me on the season when we get a moment, because he's been in the passing lanes from the start of this game all the way through the first 3 minutes of the second half, as once again Snoddy traps himself on the baseline, forced to make a pass out to the perimeter, but he finds Cody Greenolch for his 4th three-pointer.
And Joe, that's actually his 5th. He's 5 of 6 from the 3-point line, and he's really been the only thing that's really kept Bates in the game has been his 3-point shooting.
Well, taking a quick look at Rich Dunham's numbers, he has 45 steals in 13 games. A very impressive number there for Rich Dunham, over 3 steals per game. You don't see that very often, as Clayton Wolf will head to the line, and he knocks down the first free throw. You mentioned the 3-point shooting of Cody Greenolch, now 5 3-pointers in the game, and he's the reason his team is hanging around. Two of 2 from the line for Wolf, extending his team's lead back to 14 points. That pass high nearly found its way into my arms. If that's not tipped, it does. Possession will stay with the Bobcats as the corner 3-pointer is good. A much-needed 3-pointer. That was Malik Velmar. Matt Summers with it in the corner, and it's back up top with Rich Dunham. Now Clayton Wolf has it right wing up top to Cubbage. Cubbage surveys. Now Matt Summers looking for somewhere to go with it. Clayton Wolf drives to his left and draws the foul once again.
Yeah, so Wolf able to take that ball to the basket. He got fouled before. I thought he might have taken that extra step, but instead he's going to go to the free throw line. The Griffins 13 of 14 from the line here this afternoon, Joe. So they've really made the Bobcats pay for their fouls, and they've been to the free throw line quite a bit here already in the second half.
Well, fouls certainly were not an issue for the Bobcats in the first half. Only 17 fouls. And with that last foul, they now have 14 fouls in the second half. And perhaps more importantly for them, Nick Gilpin picks up his 3rd. Second free throw is no good.
They've been to I'm sorry, Joe. They've been to the line 9 times already in the second half.
It seems like the Bobcats just have no cure for this passing right now. That's a reckless pass. And once again, the steal leads to an easy basket for the Griffins. They now lead by 14 points.
16 turnovers now as we have 22 points there, Joe, for the Griffins off of turnovers compared to just 8 for Bates. And, you know, again, you turn the ball over, it makes it very difficult. And then you add into the fact that the Griffins have been to the free throw line already 9 times, Joe, in the second half and made 8.
It's tough to look at a first half where the Bobcats finished the half trailing by 8 points and describe that as a mess of a first half. They really did a good job hanging around and making a late push in half number 1, but I think this game is devolving into a very sloppy game at this point. Mess may be a fair characterization of it if the turnovers continue, as we saw those points off of turnovers for the Griffins, 22. And once again, a timely three-pointer for the Bobcats. This time, it's Tom Coyne. At the very least, you could say the Bobcats have hit some big-time three-pointers to keep themselves hanging around.
Yeah, and they've needed every one of them, Joe.
There's a block by Snoddy on the jump shot attempt from the corner. That was Segafuse. He also picks up the foul.
So that's going to be his third, Joe, the team's second. So the Bobcats will inbound.
Big possession here for the Bobcats. Just trailing by 14. Could get as close as 8 once again. Here's Snoddy. And that's a lot what we saw from him yesterday. Getting the ball down low and swooping across the front of the rim, finishing on the other side. And the lead is cut back down to 9.
Yeah, those are the kind of high percentage shots you want if you're the Bobcats. So Ford checking back into the game after going to the bench after picking up that technical foul, and Segafuse back into the game as well. Bates trying to edge their way back into the game. They've cut the lead down to 9.
Cubbage double-teamed for a moment. Now working against Spellman. Good move to get a nice look inside, but couldn't finish. And traveling is the call.
Wow. Interesting call, and I think it's safe to say that head coach John Barron doesn't agree with the call, Joe.
Interesting is certainly a fair way to describe that one. Is I thought initially it was going to be a foul called on Spellman, who did a good job of avoiding the foul, though the travel appeared to be called before any potential foul could occur. And I was seated over on the opposite side of the court last night, of course, on public address, and John Barron had no voice last night, trying to get the attention of his team out there on the floor. Certainly animated over there on the bench for the Griffins. So there were some issues with the clock that forced him to use that voice a bit more than he would have liked. And see if that foul came before, well, it was a pass attempt, not a shot attempt, so it won't matter when the foul occurred. But the foul did indeed occur on the play. It was Soma Sluion who just checked in, picking up the foul. It was Sluion and Ford in. I believe it was Segafuse and Summers out, as we talked about the timely shooting of this Bobcats team, and that continues.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's a 6-point game, Joe, as Bobcats working their way back. They've been down by 14, now down by 6.
They've increased their shooting percentage a great deal early in this second half, as Ford can't finish, and the Bobcats now looking to push. They're on a nice run here as Snoddy loses possession, and he had a man open in the corner. I think that was Velmar who wanted it. Here comes Dunham. And Dunham is stripped. Possession will stay with the Griffins. Not much has gone right for the Bobcats overall in this game, but the three-point shooting has been fantastic.
Yeah, and they've really started to pick up their three-point shooting, and they've made a couple of good defensive stands as well, as the Griffins were fortunate not to turn it over on that possession, 24 to shoot.
Taking a look at this game, as the offensive foul is called against Soma Sluion. But as I was going to say, taking a look at this game, it reminds me a lot of that first game last night between the Jumbos and the Griffins, with the roles reversed. The Griffins had the lead coming out of halftime, and it's the Bobcats battling back. Last night, it was the Griffins looking to fight back against the Jumbos, and we saw a deficit much like this, about 6 points with a similar amount of time to go in the second half. The Griffins did ultimately take the lead as Spellman can't convert, wanted a foul call and didn't get it, but the Griffins did eventually take the lead and ultimately fell short in that game. Couldn't overcome the shooting.
And that time we're going to get a foul called on the Bobcats, as it's going to be a foul, and that's going to be the 15th foul for the Bobcats. So the Griffins will inbound the basketball, as Snoddy will get called for the foul. Didn't like the call, and he'll go to the bench.
Replaced by Nick Lynch. Last night, the Griffins attempting to overcome the shooting of the Jumbos. We'll see if the shooting of the Bobcats will be enough to propel them to victory in this one. 13 minutes to go. Here comes Bates College. Corner three-pointer, Cody Greenulch is no good. Rebound to Clayton Wolf. Wolf looking to run, and he finishes in the lane.
Nice play by Wolf, taking the ball coast to coast to open the lead back up to 8. That's a big basket, Joe, for the Griffins.
Took it straight down the center of the floor.
See those three-pointers on your screen. Griffins still looking for their first. They're 0 for 11.
More timely shooting by the Bobcats. That's Malik Velmar. Deficit now 5 for the Bobcats.
Griffins need a good possession, Joe. They haven't gotten a good shot in a couple of their possessions.
That's a tough shot on the step back from mid-range. That was Matt Summers. As Malik Velmar loses it, but possession will stay with the Bobcats. Here comes Greg Barton off the Griffins bench. He replaces Matt Summers. Perhaps the bench didn't like that last shot Summers attempted. A deep mid-range step back. Coaching staff having a word with him right now. As the Bobcats bring it up, that's Greenulch in the corner. They'll swing it around the outside. This is Lynch. Back up top to Gilpin, who wants a screen. Rejects the screen and goes left. Coyne for 3, and he knocks it down. The deficit now 2 points for the Bobcats, as they are nearly all the way back with just under 12 minutes to go in the second half.
Joe, the Bobcats are 6 of 7 from the three-point line here in the second half.
It has been a remarkable shooting display from beyond the arc by Bates College in this game, and that's the sole reason why they're hanging around. As that is off the knee of Clayton Wolf, Bobcats ball, and they now have possession with a chance to tie this game or take the lead. That will prompt a Griffins timeout. And it will be a full timeout, but with the action picking up, we'll stay right here as you get a look at that last three-pointer by Tom Coyne. That shot cuts the deficit to 2. And, Mike, it has been a tremendous shooting performance. I've said it time and time again by the Bobcats, but it hasn't been just one player. Cody Greenulch has done a great job from beyond the arc, but he's not the only one. A pair of threes for Jeff Spellman. Nick Gilpin has knocked down a 3. Malik Velmar and Tom Coyne also with a pair of three-pointers of their own.
And, you know, Joe, with 16 minutes and 11 seconds left in this game, the Bobcats open their lead up. The Griffins opened their lead up to 14, 58-44. But since then, it's been a 14-2 run by the Bobcats to get themselves right back in the game, trailing by 2, 60-58.
And it's been a very entertaining game thus far, back and forth affair between these two teams. But in the second half, the three-point shooting, you couldn't even have imagined it. It's picked up on the Bobcats, and they're knocking down huge shots from beyond the arc time and time again. We saw it in the first half. That's been even more so the case in the second half. And we've seen the Griffins perform very well out of their timeouts, really able to regain their composure out of timeouts and come out strong. And usually the result of their timeouts has been an increased defensive intensity and forced turnovers, and they certainly need that to continue right here, as it looks like it has been all Bates College so far in the second half. The scoreboard certainly attesting to that, more so over the last couple of minutes. The score in the second half, 24-18 in favor of the Bobcats.
Yeah, we mentioned, Joe, 14-2 run by the Bobcats here over the last 4 minutes and 40 seconds in this second half, and an incredible three-point shooting performance for them as well.
Will it be enough to bring them all the way back? They're almost there, trailing by 2. It's Cody Greenulch who's led the way from beyond the arc with the ball. Well behind the three-point line right now, gives it up to Tom Coyne. Back with Greenulch. for the lead. Malik Velmar's three-pointer is short. Offensive rebound to Nick Gilpin. Another three-pointer for the lead from the left corner. That's Coyne, no good. Rebound to the Griffins. Pair of big three-pointers missed there by the Bobcats. Will they count that basket? They will. As it looked like the blocking foul occurred well before the shot attempt, but count the basket for Greg Barton.
Yeah, that was a tough block call, Joe. I'm not sure if we're going to have an opportunity to see it again. But that time, Barton going into the lane was able to control his body enough to lay it up and in and draw the foul.
And you see the advantage for Gwynedd-Mercy from the free throw line. 14 of 16 in the game.
Now 9 of 10 in the second half, Joe.
And that's helped them preserve this lead. They've gotten to the line quite a bit. Velmar, poor pass, and we've seen it out of the timeouts. A bit of sloppy play from the Bobcats, and once again, it's the Griffins seizing control out of the timeout. The lead now back up to 7 as we're inside 11 minutes to go in the second half.
Cubbage, the first play to 20. He has 21.
It's been a strong effort from Courtney Cubbage in this game. A lot of good work done from the mid-range right there. He takes it inside and finishes off of the turnover. This is Malik Velmar. Over to Coyne in the corner, back up to Velmar. 5 on the shot clock. Greenolch fakes the pass, nowhere to go with it. Nick Lynch, nothing but air on that jump shot. And like I said, Mike, the defensive intensity has been turned up a notch by the Griffins out of the timeout.
Yeah, and the Bobcats went on a 14-2 run, but now it's the Griffins in the middle of a 5-0 run with the basketball. They've upped their lead back to 7. Big defensive stand needed here by the Bobcats.
A lot of noise coming from that Gwynedd-Mercy bench right now. Their lead is back up to 7 as we hit 10 minutes to go in the second half. Dunham on the drive, fakes the pass, puts it up. It's in, but an offensive foul is the call, and that's a huge offensive foul drawn by Nick Lynch.
Yeah, that's a big swing in the game, Joe. Instead of it being a 9-point game, it will be Bobcat basketball as Dunham picks up his 3rd. That'll be the 15th foul on the Griffins.
Bobcats possess the ball once again, trailing by 7. Looking for more timely hoops late in this second half. We're inside 10 minutes to go in the game. Here comes Spellman on the drive. Floats it up and in. A good move there by Spellman. Caps it off with the floater.
Good idea by Bates to work the ball in the paint to break that 5-0 run.
Up top is Segafuse over to Dunham. Entry pass to Barton, working against Lynch. Hook shot inside is good. Greg Barton, biggest player on the floor for the Griffins, utilizing his size in the paint.
Yeah, Barton with 5 points here in the last minute or so to open the lead back to 7.
Lynch, deep mid-range jump shot in and out. He likes that shot, but hasn't had the stroke in the second half. Wolf over to Segafuse, thought about the 3. Dunham didn't have to think about it much, but his shot is no good.
Yeah, they're 0 for 3-point line here tonight, Joe.
That's the reason we have ourselves a game right now. It's the 3-point shooting of both sides. As Cody Greenolch unable to knock down that 3-pointer. He's missed a pair from beyond the arc in the second half. There's a look at that floater by Jeff Spellman. And I think we have a timeout called. It is called by the Bobcats. It's a full timeout, so we'll step aside for the first time in the second half. And we have a game here in our consolation matchup in this 17th annual Tournament of Heroes. The score, the Griffins 67, Bobcats 60. More NCAA Division III basketball when we come back.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
And we are back from the tank as I got caught looking down for just a moment at my phone. of course, checking out some live stats. But we're back, and the deficit for the Bobcats right now is 7. They called that most recent 30-second timeout, and coming out of the timeout, who will possess the ball, Mike? Who has it right now?
Yeah, it was a nice play that by the Griffins to really maintain their composure, Joe. They had seemingly opened the game up, taking a 14-point lead with just over 16 minutes remaining in the second half. And, you got to give the Bobcats a lot of credit. They kept their composure and, buried a series of three-pointers to make it a 2-point game. But, since that time, it's been the Griffins going on a 7-2 run, and they've opened their lead back up to 7.
Well, it won't be a possession for either team coming out of the timeout. There was a foul called prior to the timeout taken by the Bobcats, and with that being the 7th Bobcats team foul, it's a 1-and-1 for Jeff Sagafuse at the line.
Yeah, and the Bobcats have done well from the three-point line, there's no doubt, but the Griffins really making their way on the free throw line. They're now 16 of 18 from the line to open the lead back up to 9.
Well, they can't make it all up from the charity stripe, but the free throw shooting has definitely helped the Griffins overcome the disparity in three-point shooting. Bobcats have made as many three-pointers as the Griffins have attempted without hitting one. 12 of 26 for Bates from beyond the arc, as Cody Greenolch will try again. And it appears as if he may have gone cold from the field coming out of halftime. He's missed his last 3.
It's hard to expect to consistently hit three-point shots throughout the half. The Bobcats need to pound the ball inside a little bit more.
That's something they've been unable to do for the most part in this game. It's really been solely three-point shooting that's kept them in it. As good body control there by Courtney Cubbage to get a shot off at the rim. Rebound by Barton.
Good play that time as they back the ball out with Wolf.
Score 69-60 in favor of the Griffins with 7:45 to go in the second half as we work to bring the scoreboard back onto the screen. That's Clayton Wolf from up top beyond the arc. Rebound once again by Greg Barton.
Third opportunity now for the Griffins, and even if they're not successful, Joe, they're successful because they've been winding down a lot of clock on this last possession.
And we have a foul call, which would send Griffins to the line. It looks like Greg Barton is taking his position at the free throw line for a 1-and-1.
Yeah, it looked that time like Hummel and got tangled up with Barton, and it'll be a big 1-and-1 opportunity here. And Barton calmly hits the first, and he's had a very good second half, Joe, for the Griffins.
He has, and the stellar free throw shooting continues as well. It sounds like we have some Gwynedd-Mercy fans in the house shushing the crowd as Barton can't connect on the second free throw, but that's another offensive rebound.
Boy, that's 3 just in this last possession, Joe, and that's really hurt the Bobcats, especially if the Griffins can convert with a basket here. They already lead by 10. As the clock is winding down, 7:11 remaining in the game.
Well, the offensive rebound tally, Griffins 8 and Bobcats 4 with 7:11 to play in the game.
10-2 run for the Griffins.
Defensive rebounds even at 21.
Yeah, since the Bobcats made it a 2-point game, the Griffins have responded very well and have opened their lead back to 10.
7 minutes to go in the second half. This is Wolf working against Coyne. Pull-up jump shot off the back rim. And the rebound does go to the Bobcats. A foul was called against Greg Barton.
Yeah, so the freshman will pick up the foul now. That will be the 16th foul for the Griffins as Barton has 4, and the Bobcats will inbound.
The Bobcats could certainly benefit from some trips to the free throw line. They are 1 foul away from a 1-and-1 situation. Two teams have done a pretty good job staying out of any serious foul trouble in this game. As Greenolch with a head fake from an unbelievable distance. I'm not sure anyone thought that he was thinking about shooting that one, and that shot attempt no good, setting the Griffins out in transition quickly. And the three-pointer is knocked down by Shane Ford. That's a big one. It extends the lead back to 13.
Yeah, that is a big one, Joe. 13-2 run Make it a 13-4 run now as the Bobcats will take a timeout.
Well, you can't answer much faster than Hummel did on that last shot, as we will stay with you through this most recent full timeout. And Mike, a quick answer there by the Bobcats. And we've seen that time and time again. A big shot knocked down by Gwynedd-Mercy. The Bobcats have come back the other way with a response, more often from three-point range than from mid-range, as we saw right there. But they're running out of time to answer. They need to get some stops.
Yeah, and the Griffins were able to control the basketball for about a minute on the Bobcat end of the floor, and were able to get a couple of points on it. And like we mentioned, Joe, went on a 13-2 run before the Bobcats were finally able to answer with a basket to make it an 11-point game. It's getting late in the game, though, for the Bobcats, who looked like they were going to turn it around. They had the lead down to 2, but you got to give the Griffins a lot of credit, keeping their composure and opening their lead right back up.
I think the issue for the Bobcats in this one has been that the Griffins have really thrived in all aspects of the game except three-point shooting. The Bobcats have solely thrived shooting the ball from beyond the arc. Overall from the field, not bad. 45, just shy of 46%, but with 27 of their 48 shots coming from beyond the arc, you can see why they've been able to keep that percentage from the field up. On the non-three-point attempts, they are 10 of 21, so still a good number overall from the field, but it hasn't been enough to overcome the Griffins' offense, which has been stellar from the start in all aspects aside from the three-point shooting. From the charity stripe now, the Griffins with 21 free throw attempts as opposed to only 10 for the Bobcats, and the free throws made disparity plus 12 in favor of the Griffins. They've connected on 18 of those 21 free throws. The Bobcats with only 6 made free throws on their 10 free throw attempts, as that will send possession right back to the Bobcats. The Griffins recklessly throw it away on the inbounds pass.
Yeah, I think Griffins might have been a little bit surprised by that full court press.
Big three-pointer there from Tom Coyne. Once again, a timely bucket for Bates College as Coyne knocks down the three-pointer and cuts the deficit back down to 8. This is Ford, who most recently knocked down a three-pointer for the Griffins. Now it's Segafuse driving, and he finishes off glass through the contact, and he will head to the line for one more.
Yeah, that was a beautiful offensive move that time by Segafuse to take the ball to the basket and bank it up and in. Big answer by the Griffins.
I said it before during that most recent timeout. When Bates has knocked down a big shot, the Griffins have often had an answer, and it's been Bates forced to respond more often than Gwynedd-Mercy in this game. But when Bates has responded, it's always been from beyond the arc, and we saw that last shot by Tom Coyne from the corner, pulling Bates College back to within 8. Griffins come right back down the other end, connecting on the and one, and just more reckless passing by the Bobcats. And if there's a backbreaker, I think that might be it right there, as Dunham comes up with yet another steal, converts through the contact, will head to the line for one more, and assuming he didn't pick up any steals since the last time I checked, that's steal number 6 for Dunham. It is.
Yeah, a good defensive play by Dunham, as Bates, as you mentioned, Joe, a little careless with the basketball, and now they find themselves down by 14. They were down by 2 just moments ago.
What a game for Dunham now. 16 points, 6 steals, 5 assists. He's 7 of 11 from the field. He's played 31 minutes to this point. As Jeff Spellman finishes through contact. A pair of Griffins right there, but Spellman swoops to the hoop with the finger roll and finishes off glass. And just when you think Bates might be down and out, they come right back down the other end, either hit a three-pointer, convert on an and one, somehow find a way to put points up on the scoreboard quickly. And the way this game has gone, you can't rule them out yet.
Yeah, you got to give them a lot of credit, Joe. They had a tough night last night, losing the game to the College of Staten Island, and, fell behind by a lot of points in this one, but they keep battling back, and now find themselves down by 11. They're going to need some defensive stops here, and they're going to look to employ a press in the backcourt to try to help them get those stops.
And there it is, Mike, a steal once again as Coyne will step back and knock down the three-pointer. Here come the Bobcats once again, as it looked like that ball hit off the back of the backboard.
It did. I don't know how that's not Bobcat basketball. He threw it off the back of the basket.
I think they're saying Greenulch got fingertips on it. A lot of space between the baseline and the back of the backboard over there. Here come the Griffins, and traveling is the call against Clayton Wolf. And Mike, I thought that steal on N1 by Dunham might have been the backbreaker. And just as I said that, it seems as if the Bobcats have been resurrected and are now back within 8 once again.
Let's see if the Griffins can make a defensive stand.
They need it right now. They still have an 8-point cushion, but Bobcats are clicking right now at both ends of the floor. Coyne, deep three-pointer, and that was a heat check. He was well beyond the arc there. Knocked down a couple from closer to the corner. Couldn't knock that one down from well beyond the arc.
Yeah, and, you know, I know he's hit a couple of them, but at some point, Joe, you got to try to get the ball inside a little bit more.
Cubbage over to Wolf. Wolf looking for Segafuse and receives it right back. 9 on the shot clock. Swung down into the corner for Dunham. Floats one up and in, and when the ball comes out of his hand, there's just not much doubt it's going in throughout the last 2 days, as there's another reckless pass. It's stolen by Wolf, but Spellman comes back and sends it away off glass. Bobcats moving up the floor quickly, and Segafuse answers with a rejection of his own. Here comes Gwynedd-Mercy back the other way. The pace picking up late in this one, 4:20 to go in the game. The lead for the Griffins is 10 points.
Great decision there to back out the basketball by Wolf.
Griffins will use the clock as the Dunham three-pointer rims out. They had Cody Greenhalgh up ahead. Good job keeping his footing there, but that's a dangerous pass. And once again, a costly turnover by the Bobcats results in 2 points the other way.
Yeah, you know, every time that the Bobcats look like they're putting themselves in a position to make a run, they've created a couple of bad turnovers for themselves. And, you know, again, the Griffins, you got to give them credit because Bobcats continue to put pressure on them. But when the Griffins have needed a big basket or needed to run time off the clock, Joe, they've been able to do it every time here in the second half.
Well, you said it, Mike. Every time the Bobcats have made a push in this second half, it has been derailed primarily by turnovers. And we saw a couple of possessions there where the Bobcats stepped up their defensive intensity and were able to force a couple of turnovers off of the inbounds pass, and then one pass later off of an inbound, they picked up another steal. I think that was 2 out of 3 possessions that the Bobcats were able to pick up those steals. They were able to turn those into baskets. I believe both Tom Coyne three-pointers, but they got sloppy once again, and it was off of made baskets by the Griffins down at the other end, just lazily trying to move the ball up the floor, turning it over in those cases, and allowing the Griffins to come back the other way and score a couple of easy ones. First, it was Rich Dunham with an and one, finishing through contact, and then Clayton Wolf with a steal of his own, finished at the rim as well. So Bobcats really playing some sloppy basketball, scattered throughout this game. It's been uplifted a bit by the tremendous shooting from beyond the arc, but as we're inside 4 minutes remaining in this game, Bates trailing by 12. It doesn't look like that three-point shooting will be enough, though. It's been so good, we can't count them out just yet.
Yeah, and you know, the Bobcats now have turned the ball over 22 times, Joe. It's led to 29 Griffin points. The Bobcats just scoring 19 points. I believe the Griffins have turned the ball over 14 times.
You're right, Mike. It is 14 turnovers for Gwynedd-Mercy. And the Bobcats may have to speed things up just a little bit. We're inside 4 minutes, 3:40 on the game clock. Here comes Coyne, and he floats it up and in. He's had a tremendous second half.
Yeah, he's really helped keep the Bates in the game. He now has 14.
Griffins can't afford to take their time. Their lead is 10. 3:20 on the clock. Clayton Wolf wisely letting some time come off the clock. Rich Dunham will do the same. He holds the ball at his left hip.
And no hurry if you're the Griffins here, Joe.
None at all, as Bobcats can't afford to trade baskets and can't afford to see this much time coming off the clock, as Wolf is called for another travel. We've seen him called for several travels over the last 2 days.
Yeah, and you know, he's looking at the official on the play, but I don't know what he wants. It's a travel. And you can't just pick the ball up and spin in the lane, and he got called for the travel. And, you know, the Griffins do get some of what they want, Joe, because they ran like 25 seconds off the shot clock.
Well, that possession about a 50% success, as you hate to see it culminate in a turnover, but that is a costly turnover from the Bobcats. Once again, Coyne's foot was on the sideline.
Yeah, that's a big turnover once again by the Bobcats, and they've had several big turnovers here, Joe, late in the second half.
2:49 to go in this one. Time running out on Bates College as Wolf is trapped, nearly traveled. And Andrew Snoddy is fouled. You really can't blame Wolf there. Didn't have much help as he faced a double team, but good job there by the Bobcats, once again exerting some full court pressure.
Yeah, you know, the full court press has certainly given the Griffins problems here in the later stages of the second half. But, you know, again, if you're the Griffins here, the last thing you want to do is let the Bobcats score with the clock not moving.
I thought Bates, that was Bates with 10 team fouls, not Gwynedd-Mercy. I mistakenly thought the Bobcats were in the double bonus. So a costly miss from the free throw line as that one is deflected out of bounds. As we await an inbounder for the Griffins. It will be Matt Summers taking that position. Griffin lead is 10. Summers looking for somewhere to go with it. Finds Clayton Wolf. We'll see if they look to pull this back. And instead the Griffins aggressively attacking the basket. And they find Courtney Cubbage inside who draws the foul. He'll head back to the free throw line.
Yeah, this game's slowing down a little bit here, Joe, in the final couple of minutes as Bobcats commit the foul there, and we'll put Cubbage on the line to shoot 2.
Cubbage a perfect 5 of 5 from the line in this one as once again silence fills the tank. I'm the only voice that could be heard during that first free throw attempt. Pair of substitutions entering the game. Malik Velmar, one of those. Also, Greg Barton entered the game for the Griffins. Lead is 11. Make that 12 on the second free throw. 2 of 2 from the line for Cubbage. He's a perfect 7 of 7. Big three-pointer for Cody Greenalch, and he's gone cold in the second half as jump ball is called. Possession remains with the Bobcats, and this may very well be the last chance for Bates College to stay in this game. 2:19 on the game clock as the red-hot Tom Coyne knocks down yet another three-pointer from the corner. Triple team there faced by Clayton Wolf, able to escape it with the pass. And the Griffins will wisely take time off the clock. Their lead is 9 and even 2 minutes to go in the game. Ten on the shot clock. It's Barton up top. Swings it over to Summers. We know he can shoot from there. Time running out on the Griffins. 3 on the shot clock. Summers will give it up to Cubbage, and not sure what the Griffins were looking to do there other than run 30 seconds off the clock.
Well, not the worst thing in the world, though, if you're the Griffins. You're still up 3 three-point possessions with 1:37 remaining.
Definitely not the worst-case scenario is Cody Greenalch not looking to pull that three-pointer. Coyne, Gilpin over to Velmar, and another timely three-pointer for Bates College. They will not go away in this game. And a tough foul there, but immediately raising his hand was Malik Velmar, a bit aggressive on the defense of that inbound. And if there's one man you want on the line, you're the Griffins, it's Rich Dunham.
Yeah, so Dunham will go to the free throw line as Griffins holding on to a 6-point lead. As you mentioned, Joe, Bates refusing to die quietly.
Did they call that foul away from the ball on Nick Lynch? Because I believe they said someone fouled out of the game. But I don't see any other player with 4 team fouls, or excuse me, 4 personal fouls. Nick Lynch isn't in the game. So I heard something over public address about a player having fouled out of the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Joe.
I think it was a mistake on public address because I don't see any player who's fouled out. Take a look at the live stats in just a moment to double check that. As the first free throw from Dunham is good. He's now a perfect 4 of 4 from the line.
Big free throw make by Dunham. Makes it a 3-possession game, Joe.
Well, I have 4 fouls on Hummel, Velmar, Gilpin, and Lynch. Lead back up to 8. Time running out on the Bobcats. We'll see if they have one more big shot in them. Oh. And a foul is called on the perimeter. It will be a 1-and-1 opportunity from the line for Tom Coyne.
I'm not sure about that one, Joe. It just looked like a defensive player trying to make a defensive play, leading to free throws.
Coyne connects on the first half of the 1-and-1. A big free throw there, keeping the Bobcats alive. They can't afford to allow another basket in this one. If Coyne can hit this free throw, it will be a 2-possession game. And in all likelihood, Bates will need a pair of 3-pointers to keep themselves alive down the stretch. Matt Summers to inbound for the Griffins. Finds Clayton Wolf. Full court pressure by the Bobcats. Dunham waits for it just shy of center court and crosses the midcourt line. As a timeout is called, I believe, by Clayton Wolf of the Griffins.
And, you know, up by 6 with 23 seconds remaining on the shot clock, they're going to try to set something up off of the timeout.
Well, if Gwynedd-Mercy could come up with another basket this game, I hate to be quick to say it, but should be over barring an amazing comeback by the Bobcats. But you have to love the resilience that Bates College has shown in this game. They fell behind early by double digits in the first half, trailed by 10, bounced back from that deficit. I believe they got as close as 3 points, make that 2 points in the second half. They had a pair of 3-point attempts to take the lead, trailing by 2, unable to knock those shots down. And after that pair of misses, the Griffins really came out hungry at the offensive end and stepped up their defense. It seems like every time a timeout was called by Gwynedd-Mercy, they were able to come out of that timeout much stronger than they entered the timeout, because they really were able to slow down the momentum of the Bobcats, utilizing their timeouts in this second half. And Bates has hit big shots throughout this game, but it looks like 3-point shooting alone won't be enough to secure them the victory. As the horn sounds and we come out of this latest full timeout, the deficit for the Bobcats right now is 6 points, 23 seconds on the shot clock, and even 1 minute remaining in the game. It will be Clayton Wolf to inbound. Wolf looking for somewhere to go, throws it into the backcourt. That's Courtney Cubbage. We're inside a minute to go now. 15 on the shot clock. Wolf defended by Greenulch. Now it's Summers over to Dunham. Cubbage working against Coyne. Two of the game's leading scorers working against one another as Summers knocks down what might be the dagger. I thought that was a deep 2-pointer. It was announced as a 3-pointer, but a deep 2-pointer is the call.
I think that might be his first basket of the game, Joe, and it was a big one.
As Coyne can't knock down the 3, and Wolf is fouled going for the rebound. So that will just about do it. The lead is 8 for the Griffins. They will head back to the free throw line. Double bonus still in play for Gwynedd-Mercy.
Yeah, Bates able to use 16 of 34 shooting from the 3-point line to keep it close here in the second half, Joe, but it doesn't look like it'll be enough.
Well, our viewers can't see it right now, but I'm covering up my screen and only displaying the 3-point shooting. If that's all Mike saw, he would think this result is very different than what we're seeing up on the scoreboard, but that won't be the case, as what you see on the scoreboard looks like it will indeed be the way this game concludes. A Gwynedd-Mercy University victory. They now lead by 10 with 20 seconds to go in the game. Spellman on the drive, and he'll get to throw one down before this game comes to a close. We'll see if Bates looks to foul. And certainly not lacking effort are the Bobcats late in the second half. 15 seconds to go. Andrew Snoddy dives headfirst into the bench.
So with an 8-point lead, Joe, the Griffins will win the consolation game here in game number 1 here this afternoon to up their record to 9-5.
They have Courtney Cubbage, Rich Dunham, and Clayton Wolf in large part to thank for that, as stellar performances from all 3 of them. Cubbage led the way with 23 points, but Rich Dunham with 21 points of his own, 6 assists, 6 steals. He shot 8 of 13 from the field. Courtney Cubbage scored his 23 points on 8 of 15, and Clayton Wolf scored his 15 on 4 of 9. So our final score in the consolation game, this game 1 of day 2 of our 17th annual Tournament of Heroes. Griffins defeat the Bobcats 91-83. When we come back, our championship game between the Dolphins and the Jumbos, CSI back in the Tournament of Heroes finals against Tufts University. Our approximate tip-off time is about 3 p.m. It is 2:47 now, so we will not be tipping off at 3 p.m. Closer to about 3:20. Mike and I will come back with the call of that game. Mike has the play-by-play for you when we return with more Tournament of Heroes basketball exclusively on CSI Sportsnet.